there is this extraordinary global conversation now about trauma. And of course, you won't resonate with the way that everybody's talking about trauma. There will be certain people you resonate with, certain you don't. But this was not happening 7 or 8 years ago. This was not in the mainstream the way it's become more mainstream. And I'm not saying you're going to see it on the mainstream media channels necessarily, although that's arguable, because I have heard little conversations. You know, I kind of keep my eye on things. And I've heard little conversations creeping in, even that word trauma. People are beginning to hear it more. So the Z's have always said that we carry a lot of ancestral and generational trauma, and that when we're born into that. So we come in as a soul, and then the outfit that we take on as a human personality is kind of the best of what we experience in our childhood, in our early life, and not even necessarily always related to your parents or your guardians when you're a child, although of course caregivers and guardians and parents are highly influential. They say it has a lot to do with where you're born, the time you're born, and what's going on energetically in that place at the time, which is why we're all so wildly different. We can all live in the same country but have had wildly different experiences. And then if you take somebody who's in a country that has a cultural extreme versus your culture, that's a wildly different experience too. So the trauma that I'm talking about are all of the things that get in our way from really being free to be ourselves. So the spiritual power of being yourself, for some of you it might sound lovely, but it's work. And I don't mean that to be depressing. I think, God, like I said, I've been a student of this stuff for 30 years, and there'll be many of you who have been a student of this for 50 or 60 years, much longer than me. And isn't it fascinating how we, as society changes, as society evolves, as we evolve and grow, we just keep uncovering layers of who we are. We keep getting back to who am I in this moment? And what am I experiencing? And are there adjustments I need to make? So for example, the reason I'm bringing up trauma is lots of you are asking your mind or your energy field or your belief system to make a change on behalf of your body. So an example of this would be, I'm really struggling with my business that I want to get off the ground, and I've been doing it for 5 years and I don't seem to get anywhere. I just feel all this fear. So I'll take another business course, or I'll say some more affirmations. Well, if you've done those two things and the physical situation is the same or is not really much improved, it's time to go to the body. It's time to go to the body, because whatever the body's trauma is, it will not let go. You as a visionary, as an intuitive, as a higher self might know where you want to go, but your body is going, "Arr!" So the reason I'm bringing this up, I was struck by how many questions quite clearly related to the body and related to trauma. So whatever it is that you might want to try, think about it. There are things that you can do to learn about trauma that are free or very inexpensive, whether it's books or free videos or whatever it is. Then there are the things that might carry a cost, and they perhaps are a bit more tailored to you specifically, whether it's working with a trauma-informed therapist, whether it's choosing a modality like whether it's neurofeedback or EMDR or brain spotting. There are lots of body-based therapies that continue to develop and evolve as we understand more about how the body keeps the score. That very famous, respected book, The Body Keeps the Score. I forget who the author is, but many of you will have heard of it, many of you will have read it. Our bodies do keep the score. And for some of us, we can overcome those things quite effortlessly, or perhaps we have some business success, and that's enough for us to let go of the fear. Oh, cool. I had all this fear that my business was going to be a failure, and now I've had some business success. That fear of being a failure has gone away. Or, wow, I had some business success last year and I'm still constantly afraid I'm a failure. Wow, that is body-based trauma, because that's really old. And that's not paying attention to the present. The present circumstances should tell me, oh, that thing you feared is not, it didn't happen. The opposite happened. But the body goes, well, I better stay like this just in case. So there is a reason that we call it mind, body, spirit. For many, not everybody, but for many in this field, you know, those who identify as sensitives, empaths, intuitives, it can be easier to be out of the body than in. And you've probably heard me say this before if you've been around me for a while. What I now understand about the beginning of my own spiritual path, and I saw this for many people, there was such a joy in reconnecting to spirit, in reconnecting to the realms of the soul, in connecting to my guides, which, by the way, is different. Like, connecting to my guides, I know, is not something that everybody experienced that when I did. I think more people are clicking into that now. But I see that as connecting to my guides is different to being a visionary and having a vision for my life. It's different to going on a shamanic journey. While I'm in a shamanic workshop and someone's playing the drum and I'm going off on a journey for spirit, the realm of the spirit is so much bigger than your own guides. And for some of us, one is enough. For some of you, it might be enough to meet your guides. For others among you, you might not need to meet your guides, but you're very connected to spirit. When we first remember spirit, when we first come back to it, it can be euphoric. It can be almost like a drug. And there can be a pattern for some of us that we want to stay there. We're like, oh, I don't want to come back to the body. The body's too traumatic. I didn't love it, not enjoying it. Because what's actually happening is by reconnecting with spirit, something bigger, a bigger belief system about what life is to you, something feels whole again, where previously something felt empty. For those of us who are sensitive, intuitive, or walking a spiritual path, it is our practices and the support that we have in our life that often is the key to how well we can walk through life. 9 years ago, I created the portal to be an answer to that need for members of my community who wanted to go more in depth with my work. And while my work is still very much a centerpiece of the portal, we have now added other teachers, other voices, other offerings, so that the portal can become a well-rounded place for you to receive nourishment and be uplifted, shifted, and supported every single month. My aim with the portal has always been to offer you as much value for your membership as possible. And I feel like in the last year or so, we have really been able to maximize that. So we look forward to welcoming you to the portal, and we hope it is a place that can nourish your mind, your body, and your soul.